Now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Now available in paperback and e-readers. John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. One of my viewers wanted me to watch the 1992 made-for-TV movie Murder Without Motive. Now, Murder Without Motive chronicled the life of Edmund Perry, a young black male from Harlem who was given the opportunity to go to one of America's top private schools in New Hampshire, who tragically lost his life on the streets of Harlem after a confrontation with an undercover police officer. And after watching the movie Murder Without Motive and doing a review for the viewer, this film really was one that resonated with me, that I wanted to do a follow-up video talking about all of the struggles that young black men like Edmund Perry went through, because I myself went through those same struggles as I was trying to go to junior high school and high school in the 1980s. Now, as I was going to junior high school and high school in the 1980s, I experienced a lot of what Edmund Perry went through as related to dealing with race and identity, and I found myself having to walk a very tense tightrope as related to trying to make it to the end, to try to get just my high school diploma. So I know from experience the struggles Edmund Perry went through having to go to a private school, because I had to deal with the same struggles in public school. Now, when it comes down to many folks out here, they really don't understand the struggles that young black boys deal with when we're trying to go out here and pursue academic excellence. When many young black boys like myself, when we're trying to go out here and pursue academic excellence, a lot of times we don't get any support whatsoever from our families or those in the community. In most cases, usually many people, they don't really think of young black boys as anybody looking to pursue academic excellence, and that leaves a lot of young black boys very vulnerable to a series of predators who look to make the young black boy who pursues academic excellence an enemy of the state of the inner city. That's what I experienced when I was growing up in junior high school and high school. Basically, people turn you into an enemy because your values and ideas don't fit what Madison Avenue and Hollywood have programmed them to believe is what is supposed to be what they call real black. But when these people, again, go against you, what they ironically don't see what they're doing is going against what actual black is, because ever since our ancestors came out of slavery, their focus was on education, and they focused on using education as a tool, as a stepping stone to move themselves ahead, not just to, again, go out here and work for someone else, but to work on their own businesses and work on building something for themselves. This is something many brothers out here in the 1980s did not understand, and because they did not understand this, what happened is you had a lot of people saying, oh, that black person is trying to speak white, or they're trying to act white, when in actuality you are acting just like your ancestors did when they came out of slavery. Our ancestors, when they came out of slavery, looked to go out here to go to school, because during the time of slavery, they basically created laws saying that you could not teach a black person how to read, you couldn't teach them how to write, because the white supremacists knew that an education was power and having knowledge was power, and they wanted to keep black people ignorant. They wanted to keep black people ignorant so they could control them on the plantations. And sadly, the same thing happened in the 1980s, you had a lot of black people who were spellbound, not about being again being slaves on a plant on a physical plantation, but being slaves to a again social a way of life that basically put them in a psychological ghetto that was like a plantation where they were trying to be what they called what was considered to be cool or what was in for being black. But that whole idea of being in black was basically white supremacy looking to fit that black person into a box that they found acceptable to white people and acceptable to white supremacy, so this person could be easily marked and identified as their idea of black and basically make their world smooth because they've eliminated that black person as competition for them. That's what they wanted to do to black people. Again, create this divide where they had us again fighting against ourselves, and this created an identity crisis in a lot of young black boys, an identity crisis where they basically were out here again confused to what their black identity is, like Edmund Perry was in the movie. Edmund Perry in the movie basically had confusion as related to his black identity and had confusion to his black identity because he wanted to fit into the reality that white supremacy created as related to the black box that was acceptable to white people, but that conflicted with the education he was receiving at that top private school where he was learning a completely different culture and a completely different way of life, and not understanding that again he had been blessed with an opportunity to move himself ahead, but sadly because he couldn't move past the programming that he had been spellbound to believe, he basically became his own worst enemy. And this is what I ran into when I came into junior high school and high school, basically running into that, walking that tightrope and walking across a minefield of a whole lot of, again, people who were basically seeing me as an enemy, because of my values, seeing me as an enemy because of my ideas about looking to achieve, and seeing me as someone who again was a threat to their way of life that the white supremacists had programmed them to believe. This is what was the foundation, I believe, of me being bullied. Again, when you have a foundation of looking to try to pursue excellence in public schools, again, it puts a target on your back. And as that target is put on your back, you are seen as, again, an enemy of the state. Again, an enemy of the state, because you're not fitting into the black boxes that are acceptable to white people as related to the standard of what they want to create as black. And that was something that I had to deal with for many years. One of the problems I had in the beginning was a guy's getting upset because I didn't have a girlfriend at 12 years old, didn't even know what that was, but really what they were upset about was I wasn't fitting into their black box that was acceptable to white people. And again, and they wanted to use the girlfriend as a way to have a justification for looking to do harm to me. And again, look to use this to do harm to me because they felt I was a threat to them. And this is something that, again, when you're out here, a young black man out here looking to pursue excellence, you will run into these type of guys who, again, see you as an enemy. And again, this is what part of dealing with this whole situation makes going to school like going into a war zone where you're dealing with a whole bunch of landmines. And the scary part is that you don't know when they're going to explode or what damage they can do to you if you wind up stepping on them. That's what made going to school, again, a situation that gave me severe anxiety, because you don't know what you're dealing with in any given day. Because with a lot of these guys, especially these Pookie types, again, a lot of these guys are coming out of these single mother households. They're coming out of a narrow mindset from both their single mother and the programming they receive from Madison Avenue in Hollywood as related to being black. And these people, again, don't have any understanding of what it means to be black. And their view of, again, anybody who is considered to be, again, a black person who's out here looking to do well in school or looking to do anything excellent is either to say that they're acting white or, even worse, look to do physical harm to you. They believe that since you're out here, again, looking to get your education and looking to do well in school, you're somebody they believe they are justified in looking to do harm to, and they are looking to, again, do harm to you because they want to keep their world smooth. They want to, again, have a world where they can be comfortable and be, again, with these white people, where they don't have to deal with someone who is a threat to their way of life, because their way of life basically is to, again, fit into that black box that's acceptable to white people, fit into that black box that's acceptable to white people, and they don't want anybody upsetting them white folks. So they believe that doing harm to you is perfectly fine if it'll allow them to keep their world smooth with those white folks. Now, these people, again, basically, again, they are living in a world, especially these black males, they basically, again, want to be just like mama because they don't know what it means to be a man. They don't know that a man is supposed to be focused on academic excellence and also supposed to be focused on building himself up. No, because he's been raised by that single mother, he's focused on relationships most of the time. And that's another reason why those guys were mad at me, because I was focused on academic excellence. And again, they were focused on these girls. Again, focused on these girls because they had been raised in a single mother household. And since mama's main focus was getting a man, because their father wasn't in their life, they basically were focused on getting girls because they were learning their model from their single mom. And as they learned their model from their single mom, what happened with these guys is this is what causes a conflict when you're trying to go for academic excellence. They want to tell you that there's something wrong with you, when in actuality, they're growing up in dysfunction. And they're growing up in dysfunction because a boy at 12 and 13 years old needs to be focused on his grades. The girls will come and go. And that's one of the things that, again, can be a danger to a young black boy. Again, put a target on his back. Oh, this guy is not into girls, so he must be gay. Again, the same thinking that his single mother programs into him, this guy basically has out here. And again, because he has the physical strength of the man and the emotions of a woman, this is what makes it dangerous for the young brother who's out here looking to pursue his schoolwork and trying to get his grades up. It can be a danger to him because this guy, again, he's caught up in thinking, oh, there's something wrong with you, when in actuality, what's wrong with them is that they have been programmed to buy into white supremacy's ideas about black manhood and black masculinity, and they don't have a good foundation in their own masculinity because sometimes a guy isn't looking at those girls because he's focused on his grades. And in my case, I was not only focused on my grades, I knew how many of these girls operated back in the days of the 1980s at 12 and 13 years old. I knew at 12 and 13 years old from listening to their conversations at the lunch table. These girls were sitting there at, again, 12, 13 years old, talking about getting involved with 18, 19-year-old guys, sometimes even 25, 30-year-old guys. And the whole thing is that and some of these guys were drug dealers, some of these guys were gang members, some of these guys were street dudes with really bad reputations. And again, the last thing you want to do when you're trying to, again, do well in school and trying to get yourself to get just your high school diploma is go out here and get involved with one of these females, because one of these females can basically derail your life with all the drama she gets into. She can wind up derailing your life with all the nonsense she gets into, because when it comes down to these girls, again, she's out here with these Pookie type guys at 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, and she basically, again, is out here looking to get what she can get as related to Gucci bags and shearling coats and all other, and even meals at Burger King. But the whole thing is, she can wind up putting all of your life at risk over some nonsense she gets into by mentioning your name. And these Pookie type guys, because they're not very smart and they're just caught up in their emotions, they're going out here looking for you to go out here and fight with you, looking to fight you over them. And I saw many a young brother wind up in the grave, all because these chicks basically were looking to play their little games of looking to, again, play one guy against the other. And the whole thing is that when you're on a road to academic excellence, what you want to do is, again, you're trying to focus on your grades, trying to navigate this tightrope, hoping to avoid falling into that pit as related to this Pookie coming up on your rope and then looking to knock you down. Again, when it comes down to the black community, again, if you're out here looking for academic excellence, you're dealing, again, with walking on a tightrope over a minefield. And again, black boys, basically, when we're out here, we got to deal with all sorts of enemies. And again, all sorts of enemies because we're trying to do something with ourselves that people don't understand. Trying to do something with ourselves that people don't understand, because they'll be sitting there thinking, oh, he's a gay guy, or he's trying to act white, or he's into white girls, when you're just trying to do what you need to do to get this diploma so that you can try to move yourself forward. And again, you're trying to move yourself forward because you already see what it is to be in poverty. You already been broke, and you want to try to, again, move yourself ahead, hoping you can get yourself somewhere in life. But the whole thing is that as you're trying to do this, you have a whole bunch of folks working against you in your own community. You have a whole bunch of folks working against you in your own community who see you as the enemy. That's the scariest part of the whole situation. And the scariest part is that when you're on this road, you basically, from my experience as young as 13 years old, you start to understand that you can't have any friends, you can't have any girlfriends, because again, all these people don't understand what you're trying to do, and they will look to work against you. They will look to work against you as you're trying to work for something. And again, these crabs in a barrel, what they'll look to do is drag you down by, again, getting you caught up in stuff you're not socially ready for, or get you caught up in some nonsense. Because what happens is that if you're friends with the wrong people, they gonna try to get you caught up in some nonsense in these streets. If you get involved with the wrong girl, she gonna get you caught up in some nonsense with some over some dude, or try to tell you about some nonsense that's going on. So when you're a black boy, or as you're growing up, again, the hardest part about being on that tightrope is knowing that you're going to be alone. And that was something that I had to learn when I was 13 years old and I was about to start high school. I realized that, I had to be by myself. If I wanted to do anything, I could not have anybody around me, because, again, a lot of these folks, they didn't even want to be around me, because, again, it made them uncomfortable to be around someone who was different from them, made them uncomfortable to be around someone who basically was living a different life than them, not getting caught up in these streets, not getting caught up with these females, not getting caught up in the drug game. And again, you're dealing with all these folks who, again, want to get you caught. They see that you're doing something different, and again, they don't want to be around you, and you can't be around them. And that's what makes the road, again, a very hard one, is that you're on this road alone. And as you're on this road alone, you're trying to go out here and focus on your work. And as you're trying to focus on your work, one of the worst things that happens when you go to change to go from junior high school to high school is, again, you got these dudes from the female-headed households, these Pookie types, who again can't stay in their lane. Again, you're trying to stay in your lane, trying to focus on your grades, and this dude basically want to get in your lane and start telling you how to live, and that's another problem again that young black boys have to deal with. Again, dudes want to tell you, oh, you there's again that you must be gay because you're not dealing with these girls, or they're telling you you acting white because you're out here focusing on your schoolwork. They want to tell you about life, not understanding that the life that they want to lead is just what white supremacy wants them to lead. That's what they don't understand. And again, you got to try to keep these people out your way because not only do they say things with their mouth, they also want to look to put hands on you. That's the scary part I had to deal with. Again, made it like walking on a tightrope. Again, you got to deal with dudes who want to go out here and make threats and want to threaten your life. Some of them want to even pull out weapons on you. So, again, that's how threatened they feel because they don't want to deal with a black person who, again, represents something different, because representing something different means competition for them, and they don't want any competition. No, they want to stay where white supremacy wants them to be, because white supremacy gives them, again, some sort of place in society, and they don't want to see a black person focused on excellence. No, don't want to see a black person focused on excellence, so they look to eliminate that person, whether it be by, again, threatening that person or looking to do physical harm to that person. And that's what made going to school a situation that gave me severe anxiety, because, again, when you're trying to, again, achieve academic excellence, all it does is put a target on your back and make you what I call an enemy of the state of the inner city. And as you become that enemy of the state of the inner city, again, people see you as something that they don't understand. And again, since they don't understand you, they believe they are justified in trying to destroy you. They believe that they are justified in trying to destroy you. So that's what makes it hard for a lot of young brothers who, again, look to do well in school. Makes it hard for them as related to trying to do well in school. Moreover, it makes it hard for them because as they're trying to discover what is black, they're being told about ideas that are stereotypical and being told this is the actual black, when that's not the actual black at all. This is what I learned when I was a little boy. I mean, that I learned that the actual black is where we were looking for academic excellence, where we were looking to achieve something. That's what black was all about to our slave ancestors. But sadly, a lot of us didn't get that memo in the inner city. We bought into the whole idea of being cool like the pimps, like the hustlers in the 1970s, and with a lot of single mothers basically running the black community. Everything became about being social and became about boyfriends and girlfriends, and that's where we wound up going off the road of academic excellence and achievement for black boys, to black boys focusing on nonsense like being players and ladies' men, and eventually wound up becoming the first generation of the second generation, I would say second generation of baby daddies, who basically were out here, again, derailing themselves, trying to be the white person's version of black instead of being the black that our ancestors established early in the days when we came out of slavery. And again, when you're a black boy, I know, again, I'm coming from experience telling you about, the tightrope we walk on, because the tightrope we walk on, we don't only have enemies in the black community from, our own peers and many of our own young women. We not only have enemies on that side, we also have enemies in racist white teachers. We have enemies in police officers who, again, see us as a threat. We're seen as a threat on all sides. I mean, if you're a black kid and you're trying to do well in school, and you're trying to learn something about things, one of the hardest lessons you learn, in addition to being alone, is learning that you have everybody sees you as an enemy because you're not fitting into the black boxes that are acceptable to white supremacy. You're not fitting into the black boxes that are acceptable to white supremacy. So what they see you as is a threat to their smooth world, where they are only used to seeing stereotypes as black people, and black people are only used to seeing stereotypes as black people. That may sound confusing to some people, but the whole thing is they get us programmed to believe that acting like a stereotype is black, and when acting in a way, again, the way you're focused on excellence and being spoken well and being able to, again, be intelligent, that's something that, again, is a part of being black. Again, a part of being black that our ancestors established when they came out of slavery. But many of us, because we want to, again, get white acceptance and want to be accepted by white people, we buy into these ideas, and that's what makes it just that much harder for the young black male who's out here looking to do well in school, looking to achieve academically. It leads to them getting issues as related to their racial identity, getting issues as related to being black. And again, that's where I could relate to the story of Edmund Perry, because I've seen black people struggle with these issues as related to racial identity, and I might have wound up struggling a bit with it if it wasn't for shows like The Cosby Show, if it wasn't for the lessons I learned about slavery early on in my life. I mean, and learning that the slaves focused on education. I mean, these are things that, again, a lot of young black boys struggle with because they don't really have a good foundation in their black identity, because in some cases their fathers aren't active in their lives to teach them what it means to be a black man. And in some cases they get many of their ideas about black manhood and black masculinity from television. And sadly, a lot of our boys, because they get these ideas, all they think about is sex. All they think about is, again, seeing themselves as womanizers and ladies' men, and don't think about academic achievement or black excellence. No, they don't think about black excellence at all. No, they don't want to do well in school because doing well in school is considered to be white, when in actuality, again, our slave ancestors didn't see it as white. They didn't see doing well in school as white. They didn't see speaking well as white. They saw it as part of moving themselves to a better life. That's what our ancestors saw it as. But sadly, when your racial identity gets messed up because of propaganda in the media, you wind up getting confused, like Edmund Perry got confused, and you see the opportunities put in front of you. That's what you don't see. But that's what happens, again, when you walk the tightrope and you don't have much support or guidance. What happens is you walk in the tightrope, and again, you want to fit into black life, so-called black life, and you wind up falling into those pitfalls and traps where you're trying to please the pookies, trying to please the black females, not understanding all these people have been programmed to self-destruct. They've been programmed to self-destruct, and they're looking to take someone out in their wake. And sadly, the young brother out here looking to do well in school, a lot of times because they don't understand that, you got to watch out for these landmines. They wind up becoming casualties of war the way Edmund Perry did. He became a casualty in that war as related to, again, him getting in his feelings about a white man seeing him as a mugger. Now, any other brother who is self-aware, like myself, understands you can't worry about what somebody thinks of you. Okay, he want to think that, but the thing you want to preserve is your freedom. You want to preserve your freedom and just get where you need to go and leave him to whatever he's thinking, because that's got nothing to do with you. That's one of the things that these guys don't really understand. Again, like I talked about, you are walking alone. You're walking on a tightrope. And as you're walking on a tightrope, one of the things that a lot of brothers need to understand is you got to watch how you move. You got to watch what circles you're moving in when you're out here looking to pursue academic excellence in school. You got to watch how you move and where you move, because when it comes down to, again, a lot of these folks, they are crabs in a barrel, and all it takes is getting involved with the wrong one, and you can wind up getting pulled down. That's what you got to watch out for when you're in these streets. You got to watch out for how you move in these streets when you're pursuing academic excellence. You can't be out here in these streets dealing with these pookie types. In fact, you got to put distance between yourself and these pookie types, because if they're in the drug game or they're in a gang, again, they can get you jammed up. They can get you jammed up and basically cost you things like scholarships, cost you things like, again, opportunities to go to good schools, and cost you a chance at basically trying to get your life better. So you gotta, again, learn how to walk alone. You gotta learn how to cut people off. That's something I had to learn at 13 years old. Sometimes you gotta cut people off, because if they are starting to act crazy and starting to do stupid stuff, you gotta think about your ability to be able to continue being able to do what you need to do. And sometimes you're going to have to cut people off and basically leave them alone. That's something you're going to have to do with some of these fellas and even some of these chicks. That's something I also learned at 16 years old. Some of these chicks basically involved with these dope boys, involved with these gang members, involved with these street dudes, or involved with these old Negroes. You can't be with these girls. No, they may basically, they're just out here. They're not looking for no guy to get with. They're looking for somebody to, again, use as a tool. And you can't allow yourself to be used as a tool. So you got to roll solo. You got to, again, learn how to be by yourself. And again, it may lead to some of these guys getting mad and saying, oh, that guy must be gay. Because that's what I ran into, people saying, oh, he must be gay because he don't have no girlfriend. There must be something wrong that he have no girlfriend. Not understanding that what I'm trying to do is trying to keep my freedom, in these streets, because you get involved with the wrong female, and she's out here got 4 or 5 different boyfriends, and some of them are drug dealers and some of them are gang members. These guys start seeing you doing well in school, they start getting jealous of you, and all of a sudden you got Pookie in your face pulling a gun on you. You got one of these dudes pulling knives on you. You got one of these guys in your face looking to threaten you, and you're looking at possibly either losing your life or possibly getting jammed up, getting into it with this dude, where the police looking to, again, take you out. So they didn't understand that, again, what I was doing was saying, look, I'm just going to leave them alone, because the pool of women here, again, they into these shady dudes, and I don't want to get no shade on me. I don't want to deal with these type of brothers. I don't want to deal with their nonsense, and I don't want to deal with these chicks' drama. So you have to, again, if you want to do something as a young black boy, especially if you're living in the inner city, you have to walk alone. You have to walk alone, because when it comes to these streets, again, these folks is into mess, and you don't want that all the ramifications of that mess coming off on you, because again, with these females, again, they're into these type of dudes, and even some of these guys, you can't be friends with them because they're into some mess. They're into beefing with some other dude, like they had in the movie early on. The dude was into a beef with a guy, and it could have jammed that guy up as related to things. He couldn't have missed out on the opportunity to go to that private school, getting into the beef that this other guy was having. And again, you got the only way to, again, keep yourself on a road to getting your diploma, and this is just a basic high school diploma, is sometimes you got to cut folks off, and again, not even deal with them, because you don't want to deal with their drama. You don't want to deal with their nonsense. You trying to get to graduation day, and this guy and his nonsense could have you with a record, have you messed up early on. I mean, I remember, again, being in even in the school after changing schools, I was this close to graduation. Dude was getting mad at me, or it's related to the gym classes I was trying to pass, talking about I didn't have a girlfriend, getting upset about me not having a girlfriend. And I looked at that and I said, dude, this is not, I'm not even focused on this. And again, he was going to try to jam me up. So I had to, again, look out for myself, because these guys, they don't understand what you're trying to do. A lot of these folks out here don't understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to, again, get this diploma so you can try to go out here and either go to college or try to go get a job. You're just trying to get your credentials to get what you need to do. But a lot of folks don't understand that with young black boys, because we are seen as enemies not just by these white cops and many of these racist teachers and many of these white people, but we're also seen as enemies in our own community. And we're seen as enemies in our own community, even though all we're trying to do is, again, you do what we need to do to get ahead. And again, the things people don't understand is that, again, young brothers out here be walking a tightrope again against all sorts of fire and all sorts of things. And again, this is how brothers wind up getting stressed out, because just trying to get through a day in one of these public schools, just trying to get through a day is hell, because again, you got to deal with these Pookies, you got to deal with these Sharkeishas, you got to deal with these racist teachers, you got to deal with these white cops, and then you also have to come home and deal with unsupportive parents who don't really want to see you as, again, doing something out here. I mean, a lot of times folks, again, they even got the jealousy in your own family. If you're a black boy, again, you got to deal with the jealousy in your own family. And again, it makes it very hard for a young brother who's out here looking to do what he needs to do as related to going to school. It makes it very hard for that young brother who's trying to, again, get where he needs to go. I mean, a lot of folks don't understand. They don't understand the struggles that black boys go through, and don't even understand the struggles that young black men go through as we're looking to go from academic excellence in high school and try to go to college. And once you come out of high school and you come into college, you have to go out here and deal with a lot of things as related to the college environment and how hostile that is. I mean, and then you go into the world of work, then you've got other crabs in a barrel from these black elite. So when it comes down to young black boys out here, again, we have a rough road where we're walking this tightrope out here. And many people don't really talk about this, because we don't really talk about the issues of young black boys and young black men. I mean, these are things that we deal with all the time as related to, again, trying to move in life. And I had to deal with this, again, not only as related to, again, my academic high school, had to deal with it in college, had to deal with it even at work, again, where you're dealing with these black elite type guys who, again, want to deny you opportunities because they basically want their world smooth. Again, when you're trying to go out here and trying to do something as a black man, again, you're seen as an enemy all around. And that's the whole thing that basically a lot of people don't want to talk about as related to black men. We can go out here, we can get the education, we can get the degrees, but a lot of people still see us as an enemy, still see us as a threat on all sides. And that's what makes being a black man, again, a lonely road. One of the loneliest roads is being the educated brother, or the brother trying to do something. Basically, you have no support system. And again, you have to get used to having no support system, because your own community won't support you, because they basically love shysters and con men and hustlers, again, because they've been programmed to believe that these people will do right by them. But the whole thing is that it hurts you, and again, you have to hold in all that pain on the inside, hold in all that pain, and not talk about the stresses you deal with as related to not just focusing on your grades, but focusing on the minefield you have to navigate as you're trying to get yourself to again achieve your goals. You have to navigate a minefield that basically makes your life like walking on eggshells, where you're dealing with anxiety, where you're dealing with a whole lot of stress, people don't want to talk about as related to black boys. No, they'll talk all about the guy in the hood or the guy in the streets, but we won't talk about the young brother out here trying to do well in school. No, we will forget that he even exists, and even again don't even care what happens to him. I mean, that's what happens. Again, brothers wind up becoming invisible, and nobody ever wants to talk about them or even talk about what we deal with. Nope, don't want to talk about that at all. But I wanted to talk about it to let you know what struggles a black boy goes through as related to academic excellence, and the things that lead to them, again, feeling like they have no one in this world who wants to work with them at all. So, if you want to learn more about the struggles of black people who are out here looking to pursue academic excellence or looking to do good in life, you can read my novel, Spellbound, which goes in depth on the struggles of a black person who doesn't want to fit in the black box that's acceptable to white people, or The Temptation of John Haynes, which deals with the race and class issues that young black men deal with in the job market as related to, again, the struggles of intra-racism. Again, I deal in depth on all of this in both of those novels and as related to experiences I've had in life, and I wanted to, again, make this video because the movie Murder by Motive really made me really think about my childhood growing up in the South Bronx and my quest to try to gain academic excellence and try to achieve academic success, and all the pitfalls and obstacles I ran into growing up here in the South Bronx. Now, if you want to see me make more videos talking about the struggles of black men, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up any of my books, like The Temptation of John Haynes and Spellbound, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.